All right, hello everybody. Had a little bit of time, just hopped out of the shower, all fresh for you guys to bring you I think the last sort of game in this format that I'm going to be showing to you guys for a while potentially. Um at least tournament game, but yeah, this is a game I played at a tournament that just happened in Montreal a couple weeks ago. And this is a game I played against Jared Cappel. It's actually round 5 of 14. Um, yeah, and I played against the eventual winner of the tournament. And the reason I'm showing it to you is because it's the only game I actually haven't looked at yet. Even though I sort of know, uh, I sort of know what happened this game. But in any case, I mean, I played it, so I do know what happened. But you'll have to see at the end of the video what I'm talking about. Anyways, yeah, so this is a game against Jared, and it's the one game I actually haven't taken a look at. So basically, the other games that I'm going to be showing from this tournament, I think it's going to be a different format, since the games are already, I guess they're not online yet, but they're already annotated. So, anyways, we'll take a look at them as time goes by. So, Jared is first, and he plays Fub for 16, normal stuff. And I had a very interesting rack. And this is it. And Fub is a very defensive play. If you don't have an S or a Y, it's very hard to do anything here. Um, so yeah, normal play would be something like Jock and Tugrik. There's also stuff like Chagai. There could be some interesting ideas here. Kitbag could be interesting, trying to score with the J. Um, Jug to set up the A I considered as well. But I ended up playing Tugrik. I like this play because it kept a J and an A, which is very abnormal. I will have Jar and Raj if nothing happens. Um, but the J, normally you don't want to keep the J, you want to play it as soon as possible. But it had some potential value here. There was some possibility of scoring pretty well with it next turn. The A goes decently with the J, and I just couldn't find anywhere to score anyway. And of course, the highest scoring play is Taj here, which is actually not that bad because Taj, if it is underlapped with an O, you have the G to play Jog. Um, Jock is just the standard play here. The problem with Jock is that it really, really makes S's quite valuable, at least immediately. Um, and I tend not to like to do sort of that sort of thing where I'm maximizing the value of a tile I don't have early on. Um, but it's still totally fine. And Jug was the other thing I considered. And Jug, if he doesn't have an A, it's a great play, and if he doesn't have an S, of course. But I can't determine that opponent won't have an A or an S. Like that's pretty crazy. But I mean, it does set up Crate and Trake, um, which is pretty nice. They score 33, I think. Um, so yeah, these are interesting options. The two top options right now seem to be getting rid of the J. Um, and yeah, the other thing about Jug is if Jared does have an A, it's actually not a big deal. If he plays Juga, the easiest hook to have with Jug, I then have Ajuga. So it's kind of an interesting idea that you might see sometimes where you're making a play that has a hook, but the hook has another hook. So you can't access a Juga unless Juga is played. So it's actually not a terrible play if he has an A and not an S. If he has an S, I might be in trouble if he's able to score a little bit. But I think maybe looking back, I might have played Jug. But Tugrik was an interesting idea. I want to spice things up a little bit. Yeah, maybe just Jug or Jouk here. But Tugrik seemed pretty fun. Unfortunately, Jared played Spender for 88, um, which is a huge score for him. And I was able to come back a little bit with the J, um, but not a lot. I considered also just playing Jura here, even Jural, because I didn't like the fact that Jurid gave back an easy triple. And since I'm behind by a lot, if he hits that triple, I'm still gonna be behind more than a bingo. Um, but I think you have to just take the points here. It's really, I don't know why I'm even simulating it. But yeah, Jurid comes down and he plays John for just as much as Jurid. And I'm definitely not in the driver's seat here. I've drawn the Q now. And yeah, I think the best thing to do is just drop it here. I guess you could play something like Philly or flank. I've seen a lot of positions like this where you might want to do something a little bit more proactive rather than just dropping the Q, because you really just don't have a big future. I can draw an I for finally, but that doesn't play anywhere. I saw that I could, I think flannelly might be a word. 2%, no, then it can't be. Oh yeah, flannelly is good like this. Yeah, I remember seeing this. Um, I remember seeing flannelly. I was like, no, that's not how you spell it. You have to spell it with two L's. It's not good with one L. But I apparently bingo 2% of the time, and that's when he makes a play that gives me a spot for finally, and I draw an I, which is just not really happening. So maybe Philly is better. That way I can maybe draw something, maybe draw a U, maybe draw an I and an S. Unfortunately, this does take away the Q spot. Yeah, maybe flank or Philly. Yeah, difficult couple moves. Two Grick and QI, that is. Yeah, so now Jared plays bot for 12. I'm like, no, God, don't do this to me. That signals that he's pretty strong, basically. And I was just hoping that he wouldn't have anything. So I play flank. That's all I can really do here. And then he plays vat for 6. I'm like, okay, he's not scoring. Maybe I have some hope here. He's not scoring anything. But he probably has an S. So the play of Yearn that I wanted to make, I didn't really like it. Because if he has an S, he might even bingo, which would be terrible once again. Like, he might have a 90-point bingo here. So it's maybe better to just play Glary. The leave is a lot better too. But I decided to go for the points, and I'm not really sure if I should have. Like, if Glary is anywhere near as good in a simulation to Yearn, I would say in this position, I should definitely just play Glary, because the likelihood of Jared having an S is far more than Quackle, the engine I'm using, thinks, because it is assuming that Jared has a random rack. So this could have been a very key mistake. On the other hand, setting up an S hook when you're behind is a good thing to do pretty often. But yeah, based on his last two plays, it just does seem like he has somewhat of a good rack. If he doesn't have an S, he has a blank. And if he has a blank, I decided if he had a blank, then Niran was fine. If he had an S, he could just score 40 or even just bingo naturally, which I didn't want. But yeah, Glary looks to just be better. And yeah, playing off the G, of course. I should have done that. But I think I played some Hope Scrabble here, just hoping he didn't have an S, but he did. Played Mast. And yeah, now I have these letters that I didn't want. So I play Elm for 22. That was my biggest score here. I don't really know. Maybe I should try to set up an S again. I'm not really sure why I didn't think of that. I think I should probably play Gem, to be perfectly honest. Because Gem, yeah. Gem is really nice because I don't have an S, but there are two S hooks, and I have a blank. So if I do hit a bingo with a blank S, then it will definitely play. And if he doesn't have an S, he's going to be very worried about this spot, and he might block when I don't have anything and sacrifice points as a result. And I can also play through the N. I think Gem is definitely better than Elm. Yeah. I don't remember if I even considered this move. I feel like I considered it. Maybe I considered something only next move. Yeah. I decided that I wanted to keep scoring, but like I can coast with my blank, but not for that long. He's just going to be able to use these scoring spots to his advantage. I mean, what if he draws the X? I don't know. I think Elm was a clear mistake. So Jared now blocks the S hook that exists with Fubs, and now I'm in a position where where he blocks my bingo, and he didn't have to. I could have set a second spot up, but now there's no spots for the S, for an S bingo. So what do? I've drawn an S. Now there's nowhere to put it. Now I have to play something like peg and leg, which he could potentially block with a very short play. So I allowed him way too much here, in being able to block this spot. And I think Elm was the biggest mistake of the game. But I decided to play leg instead of peg, because my bingos after leg are going to score far more than 2 points. They're going to make up far more than 2 points, off of having played peg. So this is sort of a higher, I guess, a higher level, not to toot my own horn, but a higher level strategic concept is if you're going straight for something, and I'm going straight for this, I'm fishing for a row 15 bingo. Um, you don't have to keep the most bingo-y lead, which actually isn't even. After leg, I bingo more, but even if after peg I bingoed more than after leg, I guess after a certain point I wouldn't want to make this sacrifice in bingo chances. But the fact that I'm keeping a P rather than an L is going to make my bingo score at least 6 points more in this spot because it's on a triple. So leg is definitely the best option here compared to peg, but it's a little too late for me to be making these clever plays. So yeah, Jared plays pan for 8 because now he can block. He feels like he can just block as much as possible. But since I have the P, another thing I can do now is score. So I play prawn. I could have, yeah, I decided not to play the S here, but I could have, just to score some extra points. But I figured that the S was actually really useful. The board isn't completely dead yet, so it is possible that I'll be able to still bingo potentially to this N. And now since the score is within 50, I felt like keeping the S was just definitely beneficial to me. But I can definitely see playing it off, for scoring the extra points and keeping the blank. I normally would probably make that sort of play, but this time I didn't. Yeah, maybe play off the S. And I look, like my winning chances are at 50% here because Jared's been able to close the board down, but at the huge disadvantage of scoring no points and doing so. So now that I've drawn this W, I'm able to come back into the game now. It's within 20 and I have a blank, and he might not. So he plays earn, tries to score some points, but he's scoring nothing. And so things seem to be improving for me. So that was sort of my plan with playing Elm, is like he will sacrifice a lot to block, but I have a blank and I can continue to make some plays and potentially come back into it. So here I play Ova. I noticed there are no ends left and I have a blank, so I decide that not only is this like my best play for points and leave, it also sets up a hook that he would only have if he has the last blank. So I liked putting the pressure on here. He played Void. Oh no, he doesn't. Sorry. What did he actually play? He couldn't have played Void because there's no V left. Wait, what happened here? It says he played Void. Oh yeah, he played Void. Sorry, I totally forgot he made this really cool play making Eon and Bind. It's like, there's no way you can play Void. Yeah, really nice find by him. The thing about this play, though, is it sets up an A and an O hook here. And here's where I start to just lose the plot, I think. I'm doing really well. I've pretty much come back in this game. I decided to play Yo, and I don't think this is bad. I could make a play like this, but I started to worry that maybe he was close to something. But yeah, I play Yo here. I don't think I should play Oi here because it blocks this N setup. I can definitely draw into some N bingos with IIST. And I'm also leaving this O open just in case I draw something through it. So I think I'm supposed to play Yo, even though it does keep 2 eyes. And then Jared plays Do It, and now I'm like, okay, like he's given up on defending this board. I've really made some great progress here, but my time is quite low at this point, and I'm looking for bingos, and I don't see a bingo, and hopefully I didn't miss anything. Okay, I didn't miss anything, but instead of just making a normal play here, I decided that he was playing do it because he had the X, which is really, really absurd because, like, sure, he could have the X, and that would be really devastating, but, like, I decided to play dice, which is super devastating for me. It just blocks everything off, scores nothing, and if he has the X, he can still score, like, really nicely with ox plays. Like it's just really not a good idea to assume that Jared's setting up an X in this spot, even though he's definitely more than capable of making this really nice play setting up the X. It's just really dumb of me. And I just this was a horrible, horrible play. Um, yeah, there's many ways to score on this board, and of course the X is pretty devastating. But I can do things like that make it less devastating. If I play citied, I'm opening the board. If he plays an X bingo, or not an X bingo, next play, and then I bingo, it's okay. Yeah, this was just really, really bad. So I think I blew the game in this position, unless I didn't. So he plays OE for 4, and I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, what is this game? This is such a bizarre game. Um, and I draw the Z, and I decide I can't play Zoic because he just has an A an overwhelming majority of the time. Ofe is no word. So I decide to play ZD, trying to open a little bit, and then he bingos. So yeah, this whole time he was just building up his rack. So if I had played something, if I had played City, he might have bingoed. But I don't know. I feel like dice was just a terrible, terrible play, no matter what. And now I'm in this position where he's bingoed and now he's up like 100 points and I can bingo back. But if I bingo back, I'm drawing 6 out of the back. And so here is the dilemma here. The dilemma is that I have these bingos. Jesus. Um, I have these bingos, but they all just lose. Like, there's almost no way that I can win this game after bingoing because I'm drawing 6. I'm going to be down. He's going to have the end game to himself. Unless he's drawn like the absolute worst letters for his bingo, I'm going to lose this end game if he makes the right plays. And that was when I was like, okay, if he makes the right plays. Now, what's more likely, that he blows an end game after this bingo of choosier where potentially I can draw the X and threaten huge X plays that he might try to block, and in doing so not score enough, and then I can swindle the end game? Or is it more likely for me to win if I don't play a bingo? And if I don't play a bingo, how am I going to defend against whoever draws the X? So the only thing that I can think of doing here is trying to block the X with like who, um, which doesn't form. Yeah, what am I talking about? Just trying to block the X somehow, and there's just no good way to do that. Like I can maybe try Ohia, and leave 3 in the bag, but then he can just play 2 off and leave 1 in the bag, and I'm just losing. I'm not going to be able to score enough with my bingo. So the only way I can consider that I might win the game is either by drawing a bingo with the X, which is extremely unlikely. X is not a good bingo tile, or by leaving the X in the bag somehow. He doesn't empty the bag, and then I draw the X, and I'm able to score just enough to win. And this does not seem, none of these scenarios seem like at all likely. So I just decided to play choosier and go for the spread. Try not to just lose by so much. And maybe there's some crazy idea that he would blow this end game. So here's the position. And I had 15 seconds left on my clock here, or something ridiculous like that. And Jared had like 6 or 7 minutes for this end game, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, maybe he's gonna try to block the X with like relit, and then maybe I have some crazy sequence so I can win. And then I just started like saying, no, there's no way. This is not gonna happen. Like, you should just like give up. You screwed up this game. You played dice that was so bad. Just give up, Josh. Like, why are you even considering this scenario to be even remotely possible? Jared is too good. of a player to do something like this. And I was like, okay, well, you know, he's blown endgames before. Everyone's blown endgames before. Like maybe he'll do something. But then I was like, okay, maybe he's gonna miss X. I don't think he is. But if he plays wiser, I'm losing. There's nothing I can do. I can play X, and then he just does anything and he wins, or just plays local. I saw this sequence. I'm like, okay, this is winning for Jared. He doesn't even have to block the X. So yeah, what am I to even do? And indeed, there are lots of winning plays here, many of which block the X. I saw a situation where I think he can play Lirot, Lirot, or something, something like that, and go out. Or I don't remember. Yeah, he can even just do this. Go out with Oilier or Euler. I saw Lazier. Yeah, I saw Lazier as well. And then setting up OW, I saw that one. And this is all like when I have no time, but he's thinking. I saw that he could play just a bunch of things that do block the X that go out in 2. And I was just like, okay, I can't win. And I gave up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Why are you giving up? Like, why would I give up? At least fantasize about winning and be like, okay, if he plays Relit, what do I do? And I saw he puts down Relit, and I'm like, oh, wow. Well, I'm sure he found some win that I didn't see. Whatever. So he plays Relit, and I quickly just put down Rex, and I'm like, okay, good game. And I'm like, where is he going out? I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's going to score enough. He's just going to play OW. If he plays OW, and I have no outs, and like he just wins. But I actually didn't see that he had this outplay of whoa. So he plays that and he wins by 14. And turns out after the game, we're looking it over. I'm like, wait a second. That was your only outplay. Maybe I had some win. I have 15 seconds left. I was looking at this play and then I decided you weren't going to play it. And then I saw this play. Ugh for 7. Now, what is this play? This play, Ugh for 7, it blocks his outplay of Woe, and it blocks his high scoring play of AW or OW. And what is he left with? Well, he can play OWE. What's the problem? I don't have enough to win. Sets up Xerus. That wins by 4. Okay, well, he can block Xerus, can't he? How does he block Xerus? It's very difficult. Can he block Xerus? Is it even possible? He has no words with this U. 0 words with this U. Can't do anything here, can't do anything. Okay, he can play Wu. And that blocks Xerus. He plays Wu for 6. Well, I have another outplay. And I win by 5. And confirmed by the engine, there is no win after Ugh. And Ugh has to be the only win. Yeah. And the problem is when I saw and considered this play Ugh to block the W in some weird scenario, I didn't see that it was setting up my outs because I was just resigned. I just decided I was losing. I decided I was losing this game. And I was so annoyed at myself. Of course, I only had 15 seconds left, but I had all of his time to figure this out. Relit was the first play I saw that he might consider to try to block EX. Why couldn't I at least just calculate and see this would win? Imagine the swindle. Of course, he had to blow the endgame first, and I was losing because I made some bad plays. But imagine the swindle. So sad. So, Ugh. That's what the video is going to be titled. Ugh. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. After the game, I saw this and I'm like, this wins. This wins. Anyways, that's the video. I gotta go. Gotta start the stream on Play Scrabble. All right, catch you guys next time.